Hello. Well, welcome everybody to Wednesday, November 23rd. As we wait, on the holiday break week, Thanksgiving break week from the court, from the LA Superior Court, in regards to the Masterson trial. A whole week off for the jury who was in deliberations to be with their family, take a break, ponder, they say, on what they heard in the courtroom, what evidence was laid out. I thought it would be good to talk with all of you a little before. It must be hard to go a whole week without knowing what's going on because nothing's going on. But it does give us the opportunity to look back at what we already heard and saw and to try, if you're like me, to put ourselves in place of the jury, to try to figure out what they possibly could be thinking, if they're thinking right now at all. Maybe some of them are taking a break from consideration. Maybe some of them are still deliberating back and forth in their heads. Mm. Hard to say. And we don't get to say, do we? Mm. That is the hard part. I also thought it would be good um, to give you all the opportunity to ask questions if you'd like. On some of the things they heard, or give you the opportunity to discuss some of this. We don't often get that. We get to take in all the information and hear other people talk about it. How many of you actually get to say how you feel about it, talk about it a little bit? If you're anything like me, this has brought up a lot of questions back and forth. Um, a lot of ways I'm feeling in the law, in certain things that happened during the trial, certain things we heard about. Um, And I just thought, wouldn't it be good? Wouldn't it be good? Angela, welcome, Angela Clark. I'm very happy that you're here. Yeah, Colt, I get it. Um, let's talk about that a little bit. Do you want to start there, everyone? About how this trial isn't about Scientology, but it's about Scientology. No matter what they say. Um, we have three accusers of Danny Masterson who say that in the early 2000s, each of them had been violated without consent. Let's call it that. The legal definition. Hmm. Penetration without consent happened. Accused by all three of those that are charged, the charges against Danny Masterson. Three separate charges, three separate accusers. Okay. Each accuser representing their own event, let's call it, or mm, ep- mm, I don't know what to call it. Hmm. Somebody help me with a better word. That one sticks in my throat. Each one having their tale to tell and laying it out for the court. Some of them with more than one event. Mm. And then we had a fourth woman come forward with the same allegations. However, those aren't charged. Um, Several of the Jane Does have more than one incident, but only one incident would be charged in the manner. One actual charge. There are only three individual charges against Danny Masterson for forcible, non consensual intercourse. One by each of the accusers Jane Doe 1, Jane Doe 2, and Jane Doe 3. The press has been somewhat accommodating in keeping their names as Jane Doe, but all of them have been leaked in some way or the other by the defense during the trial, either named by their first name and then going back to their last name later so that it could be linked together easily by anybody that was in the courtroom. Hmm. We will remember that back in 2017, when Jane Doe 3, who we know to be Christina B., She has released her name. She came forward because when she went and filed her allegations in the court, in the police department, Danny Masterson took out a big publication and made a huge statement against her, naming her, accusing her, reading her to riot, so to speak, about their relationship with his attorneys and with the help of Scientology back in 2017. Oh, but wait, let's not talk about Scientology, quote unquote. Philip Cohen, defense attorney, in his closing remarks. You all mentioned Scientology 700 times. I want the count. And like I said before, I do believe that Philip Cohen himself will be guilty of at least 350 of those, if not more. Hmm. Anyway, hello, Wrecker. Hey, Mippet, it's good to see you, Charlie. A busy, busy day for you. I hope you got the time off. Footy, after all. And please tell me, was it really a tie between the United States and Wales? And can you explain that to me later? Because I'm confused. Like, how could that be? How do you get a tie with a penalty? I don't understand. But this isn't about footy. Hey, Robski. Sean, always createful. Mrs. Cassandra and Autistic Shield, thank you for being here. I can't tell you how much your support has meant lately. A lot. Hey, Crazy Cat. Good evening. It's nice to see you here. And Grace, I see you just came in. For anybody that I missed, I'm sorry. I'm horrible with the feed on the chat. I'll admit it. I know my faults. I'm not so good with it. But I do welcome you all. Mm. Oh, okay. I get it. All right. So there'll be another opportunity to break the tie. Okay. Thank you, Charlie. That explains it for footy. Charlie says for the question that I asked. There are ties all the time. You get 1 point for a tie and 3 for a win, and it's based on that. They break the ties later on in elimination. And if Charlie says so, I believe it because when it comes to footy, Charlie knows it all. He's a big fan. I'll take his word for it and check it out later. But thank you for that. Thank you for weighing in. Mm. And I heard we play England on the weekend. Ooh, oof. All right. Anyway, back to Masterson. Angela, I see the names. hmm Yep. Miranda Scogans, Jillian Swartz, Angela Clare, Mike Ellis, Kendrick Moxon all collided to obstruct justice. I colluded. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Because if you want to talk about that, let's talk about that. Angela brings up a good point. They don't want this to be about Scientology, but Scientology cultivated the culture into which this happened. Okay, and nobody's going to be able to deny the fact that the women were actually instructed mm, not to report things. Let's talk about Masterson's first accuser, Jane Doe 1. When she recalled her incidents in 2002, she confided in the Church of Scientology. She went to the ethics officer and they said to her that they forced her to make peace with what happened. And she had to complete ethics programs. And she saw what she was taught during those ethic programs, per her statements in this court, that she was responsible for the alleged crime. She says, and I quote from the trial, and this is from, as I tell you, I get this from articles, Deadline, Deadbeat, Rolling Stone, Variety, oh, Onyx, all the major ones, as far as NBC, CBS, Law and Crime, Courtroom Reporting. I do love Chantel. She's wonderful. Um, I get them, but mostly Tony Ortega, underground bunker, is in that courtroom. And he's giving great detail as much as he can on what's going on. And some of these quotes that I see in other articles are right from his reporting too. So I do believe if there's more than, if it's quoted by being said in the courtroom and I see it more than 4 times, then I say that, well, they're probably, that was said in quotes by the person. However, my disclaimer is I have not seen a trial transcript. Okay, so when I'm reporting it, it's from those inside the courtroom who are taking notes and reporting best they can what we said. But we all must be aware these are not legal transcripts. That's the only disclaimer. But in something like this, that we're just having a discussion, question and answer, I'm not going to be telling you that it's definite this, that, or the other thing, or giving any legal opinion whatsoever. This is going to be an open discussion on how you all feel about where it's going and how it's all made you feel, if you like. Um, hmm. Ask questions and I can try to answer them based on what we've seen so far, if you like. hmm No, but basically, let's go back to Jane Doe 1. And I quote, "My understanding my entire life was that you can never be a victim. No matter what condition you find yourself in life, no matter how horrible, you are responsible because you created it. You created that." Under that type of instruction from Scientology and push and belief, they were all Scientologists. We've repeated this to you, all of them at the time. She went to them and they told her it was her fault. It's her fault. Jane Doe 1 testified, repeated that there were 2 incidences in her case. hmm You know what, Angela? I love your input here because, yep, Scientology weaponizes sins as leverage against the offender and fodder to examine the victims. There is no justice. From what I've seen, I would agree with this wholeheartedly. From who I've talked to, including Chris Shelton, read everything Tony Ortega's ever put out, Mike Rinder, Leah Remini, Doug Scott, um, so many. Aaron, who has a channel also. These are, I granted, these are ex Scientologists, but who knows better than those that were there? Who knows better than those that are now out and seeing clearly, you know? And we don't get to talk to the actual Scientologists. They don't talk to us about it, do they? Mm. Mm. Chris Shelton had an amazing stream earlier that I am still in the middle of replaying, as always is indicating in there. And I do ask you all to check it out. It was a good one. He gives great questions. He takes questions and answers. He's got the psychology background behind it to assist. He does good work in helping people wrap their brains around what happens when they come out and in assisting them. And I admire him very much for it. And I'm enjoying his take on things. He's actually just straightforward, blunt about it all. And that's what we need. We need to use the real words and we need to have the real conversations if anything is ever going to be done about anything as horrible as this. Hmm. Well, let's get back to the trial. They're on deliberations. Is there anything that you heard about what went on that you would like to discuss or questions that you would ask? I ask you because I really have no plan for the rest of this stream. But if you don't have any questions, we'll just all go to our separate corners and deliberate with the jury. I'll tell you. Yeah, yes, yes. Crazy cat, I agree. Blame the victim sounds like the Catholic Church of the 70s and the 80s. This also. Mm-hmm. Yep. Cult recovery. Yep. Takes years. As it does from any type of formalized religion or cult, uh, the fight back, especially if you've got family members that are actually there still. Mm, yep. Yeah. I'm going to listen to it also, the stream with Chris Shelton again, always createful. There was a lot of good information there. And Angela, I understand you gave a lot of information out there, and I'm glad that you're here and supportive of the kinds of information that we can get out there. I do appreciate what you do also. Mm. Now, okay, Jane Doe 1, she went to Scientology and she told them about it. So did Jane Doe 2. Mhm. Okay. And so did Jane Doe 3. Jane Doe 3, who was in the 6-year relationship with Danny Masterson, always held out hope that Danny himself would go to Scientology. She became a Scientology after she got into a relationship with Danny Masterson. And she was actually using the teachings. She went farther in it, even than Danny. Hmm. And she actually was looking for answers into how he was treating her with Scientology, only to be deflected and blamed, and to be told that non-consensual relations does not exist if you're in a relationship with Danny Masterson or anyone. Doesn't exist because it is her duty, her responsibility to provide for him if she is in a relationship with him. It is part of what was the balance that Scientology laid out in the relationship. Almost like a, dare I say, what what are you contributing to the relationship? Almost a quid pro quo. Almost a, hey, nothing in this world is free, eh? Hmm. I was disgusted. I believe in equality. I believe in give and take in a relationship. Those that know me know that even in my friendships, it's a, I'm for you and you for me, you know? I got your back, have mine. It's 50-50. My partners would never be able to say I was not supportive and tried to be as equal as possible. I'll take that to my grave. However, here, I could never be a Scientologist. I could never be told that I am not equal, that I am some type of second class citizen in a relationship, mm, and that I need to pay for everything that I get in some way, like barter. Hi, hello, Wrecker. Wrecker asked a question. Thank you. What do you think is the most important side effects of this trial and why? What I see happening is the old cliches of defense and prosecution. I saw clearly in black and white a defense that clearly laid out to blame the victim and call them untruthful. I did. They attacked the women, even with California statutes that protect them totally. Judge Olmedo had to allow some of it. Basically, they used it with the testimony that they did and how they reported. They didn't go after, Philip Cohen didn't go after the time length because he didn't want to talk about Scientology. He didn't want to talk about 10 years in between filing of these reports and actually getting justice. He didn't want to bring any of that up. What he wanted to do is pick up words, twist words. Try to say in this report you use the color brown, in this report you use the color brownish. And I know that sounds ridiculous and I might be making fun, but really reviewing those transcripts as reported from those inside the room, that's what it looks like. And that's disheartening. Now, granted, Philip Cohen has to do his best for Danny Masterson, and I grant him that. He's doing a damn good job. Hmm. But when I hear a witness come back and just right to his face say, "You are twisting my words. Here, look at the report. Read what you wrote." Yes, I'm reading it. But that's not what it says. Not the way you are saying it, sir. They were polite. They all pushed back. But yet, I'm disheartened because the first question that the jury wanted to review was Philip Cohen's degrees of guilty. And I ask you, I ask you, and this bothers me, the side effect of this trial is the degrees of guilty in the lack of consent. How does that weigh in? There's either consent or there's not consent. Are you going to argue, Philip Cohen, or you tried to, that there are degrees to it? No. Mm-mm. And that's not just some leftist, extremist, feminist view. That's for every person, every single person on this planet. Yes is yes, and no is no. That's consent. Not maybe, not if you think so, not well, I thought so. That's infuriating. It was a good question, Ricker, but it makes me feel a certain way. So I'm not going to go too much further into that. But yeah, the dangers of actually putting degrees on consent legally is a quagmire. And Philip Cohen opened that door. And I was disheartened to hear that the jury actually wanted to look at it. Because let's also remember, and the judge had to remind the jury quite firmly, and she did, praise to the legal system in Judge Olmedo because she is playing it straight. No one could fault her on the straightness of this damn trial. Judge Olmedo said, hey, he's allowed to say whatever he wants in closing arguments, but lest you remember, jury, his fantastical ideas are not evidence, and you're not allowed to consider them. And no, I won't. She didn't say it like that. I'm saying it like that because it pissed me off. She didn't say it like that, but it comes out like that because, yeah, she's saying, no, you can't look at it. That's not legal. That's not evidence. You're only allowed to consider evidence, not whatever story in closing arguments the defense or the prosecution, let's be fair, lays out. That's not what you're looking at. That may sway you to make you look at evidence, but you can only consider the evidence in the testimony in deliberations. So I was disheartened. First, out of the door, they want to do that. They didn't understand the process. Okay. Someone on that jury is talking emotion, is talking statements, is talking, did you hear what Cohen said? Did you hear what Mueller said? Instead of looking at the evidence. Hmm. Someone's stirring it. This is my opinion, just my opinion. But that's what it looked like to me, and that was disheartening. Okay. I get it. I get it. Always, I agree. Coercive control is always wrong, no matter the age or the gender. I get it. Mm. Hello, Tim. It's nice to see you here. Hey, Jujubee. Thanks for joining us. You know, I hope you do get home so you can ask me some questions, Juju. I know you got them. I know you do. And you, hello, T King. It's nice to see you, Tim. If you have some questions, please go ahead and ask. I'll try to do the best that I can. Mhm. Even if the defense loses this trial, the damage to the already terrible reputation of Scientology is big. I'd have to agree with that. And that was a point of contention during the arguments. There was quite often that Goldstein, Karen Goldstein, or Philip Cohen would come into the start of the day and say, did you see what happened out there in the press or the billboards or who's talking about who or some governor's race? Scientology was mentioned and it's detrimental to this trial. I mean, they made it that's why I laugh when he says, "Oh, Scientology was mentioned 700 times." They did it repeatedly every day. They came in every damn day. They started the conversation on Scientology. Who brought Scientology into this? The defense entered the first piece of evidence against Scientology in this case. Hmm. Let's us not forget. Hmm. It's amusing and not. I would have to say, besides me having a little go here and there, most of this is not amusing to me at all. Hey, Jen, welcome. Grope away, everybody. And hey, Sherry. It's nice to see you, love. Uh, Sherry, I think of you often, love. Mm, I do. And I hope you're well. And if not well, comfortable. Mm, Anyway, mm, it is nice to see some of you here. Mm. It's nice to see all of you here, actually. Mm. Sean has a good question. I missed the girl's testimony. Did any say that they submitted out of fear? Well, here's the problem with it. Just as a recap, for every single one of these events that they testified to, and that would be Jane Doe 1, 2, and 3, the accusers, and Jane Doe 4, the supporting witness for prior bad acts, or so to say, or pattern, or whatever you want to call it legally, stating that since Philip Cohen decided to take that route, that there was collusion amongst the accusers, that they came forward to try to hurt Danny Masterson together, and they made this all up. He opened the door for Jane Doe 4 to walk through it and say, I don't think so, because he did this before they even met. He did it to me twice in 1996 and after. I don't think Philip Cohen was ready for that, and they fought hard to keep her out of the courtroom, but they opened that door by saying the women had the motive of money and spoiled reputation as not justice, not righting a wrong that was done to them, not pushing back on a system that told them they couldn't talk about this. Mm-mm. Nope. He said it was money. He said that they had other motives, and he opened the door to show that that was not the case. Mm. And so I am glad that D.A. Mueller saw that opening and asked the court again to reconsider Jane Doe 4 because her testimony was good. And in answer of your question, Sean Coffey, all of the events that are being reported in the trial, testimony from all four of these women state that they were either altered beyond consciousness, either passed out through what they believe drink or condition, or asleep when the assault happened. Several of them fought back. There was pushing. There was a pillow pushed on Danny Masterson. He chose to push that pillow back into the face of one of them and smother her back into unconsciousness, per her testimony. This is all per their testimony. I'm taking this right from what they have said. Okay. Because it should be noted that Danny Masterson didn't answer any of their accusations. He chose not to speak for himself in the court, given the opportunity to take that stand and push back on every single one of them and say what really happened during those events. In his opinion, he chose not to. So only their versions are there, and I'll tell you that they all state that they were not in control of their bodies at the time of the event. They were either asleep or unconscious, one of them drifting in and out of consciousness at several times, pushing back, one actually fighting back, telling him no while vomiting in her mouth as she was being, as she stated, quote unquote, jackhammered from behind so violently that she vomited in her mouth while yelling no, while saying she don't want this. Hmm. It's hard. It's a long time ago. I get that. I get where people are like, why would they come forward so much later? Yes, Sean, most vulnerable, not awake. And I'm going to put this word up. Yeah. But Danny Masterson released a statement in 2017 and continues to stand by the fact that he is not guilty, that all the sex that he has had with all of these women was consensual. No, that's okay. Um, Sean, You can make me repeat it. I do not shy away from the words or the statements of the women. They have every right to hear their voice heard. And if I have to repeat it so that others hear it because that courtroom was closed, I will. So don't apologize, love. Ask away. I will read it. I will tell you what they said based on those that are inside the courtroom. If you have a question, I want to try to answer it. I'm trying to wrap my mind around what's going to happen next week. And I'm thinking many of you are too. Angela, this is true. Here is another thing that happened during the case. If we switch away from the actual events, let's remember that Lisa Marie Presley did not testify. However, statements that she made to the DA are on file. She was given immunity because her statement included the fact that she actually actively admitted to trying to coerce one of the Jane Does into not coming forward, to actively, under the order of Scientology, go to that Jane Doe as a friend and try to talk her out of all of it, pressure her for Scientology. So she got immunity because she was worried about being charged with obstruction of justice from keeping that Jane Doe from reporting her rape. Lisa Marie Presley is going to be paramount in the civil case because there is a civil case. This case is about Masterson, what Masterson did. The civil case is what Scientology did to keep them all quiet, including with the help of Masterson. He's in that one too. Okay. Yes, there's a civil case. Yes, civil cases are based on money. That's true. But what else did they have to go forward with? How else will they get their justice against Scientology? At least it will get out there. You see, I don't think they care about the money. They're all just putting out there so it's known. Because why would you go through this if it's not important that the truth get out there to you? I don't believe the conspiracy that all of these people are organizing against Danny Masterson and Scientology to ruin their good name. Bullshit. I believe it's a bunch of people tired of them getting away with it and the truth not being seen. Yep, that's what I think. And I'm allowed to say what I think. So are you. So are all of us. No matter how much they say, let's not make it about Scientology. Scientology threw themselves in it the minute they said it wasn't rape because you're in a relationship. The minute that they said, hey, it's all your fault. The minute they demeaned these women, disrespected them to the point that made it their shame, their cross to bear, and not an act that Danny Masterson may have done. When they took the equality of the situation away, refused to even look at the other side of it, to their financial benefit, let us be clear. Danny Masterson's an upstart. Danny Masterson's family's been in Scientology for a while. They are so entrenched in Hollywood. They bring in the money, they bring in the new blood. They have financial value to Scientology. Scientology is the one who brought themselves into this. It is true. Lisa Marie, they're going to have to settle now unless they want that actual deposition to become a part of that home. Yes, the lawyers will. And let's see. Let's see how valuable, this Hollywood upstart is to Scientology when they have to start paying through the nose not to let the truth come out anymore. hmm Mrs. Cassandra, I really hope these women get justice. I know this has taken a toll on you. This is a tough one. For sure. Those testimonies. Thanks. You're doing great. Thank you, Mrs. C. Thank you. Um, it is hard to read all of that, but mm, it has to be done. People need to know. Their voices should not be silenced, regardless of the outcome of this case. This is going to be out there. This is going to be out there as a permanent record. Yep. And we're going to keep speaking on it. regardless of which way that case goes next week. Angela Clark says harassment is all they want to stop, but that just means money in legal terms. I get it. They say, right, Angela Clark, they are reporting, even in this trial, that to this very day they are still being harassed on a regular basis. That Scientology um, takes whatever they can and moves them forward. Hmm. I want to show you something though. What really irks me is that, mm, first of all, let me just bring this back up here. This is Judge Olmedo. I speak highly of her. I really do. It's not easy to balance the prosecution in the defense in this case. They are coming from totally different areas. Her job is to make sure it's a very fair trial. It is hard with the mention of Scientology because Scientology evokes emotion. Mm. And just the word itself does put an imprisoned vision in your head of things in culture. It does. Okay. That can't be helped. Also, it can't be helped that the fact is that Danny Masterson is a Scientology. He's in Scientology. He's a Scientologist. Too, he wears that cloak. Why can't we look at it? She's trying to balance it the best she can legally. Okay. Yes, honorable, honorable. I'll put that up because I agree with you, Angela. I do. Honorable, honorable Judge Almiro. She's doing her best to be as fair as possible to give Danny a fair trial. But I want to remind you of what the jury saw of Danny Masterson. Okay. Yes, they had the privilege of seeing all of the Jane Does. We didn't. Okay. But the image of Danny, clean shaven, calm. He's been so calm, unaffected, not emotional about any of this. And I guess it is hard. You got all these people talking about you up there. They're saying horrific things. Okay. Um, and I wonder how much that has gotten into the jury too. hmm He's not being very flappable about it. He's unflappable about it. Yeah, he's just calm. hmm I don't know. hmm I don't know. Exactly. Let's get him on. Prison is a bonus. Sex offender. Yes, I get it. I think if this happened, he needs to be labeled. And yeah, Grace, let's make it about Scientology. What we have to in certain way we do. Not totally. The act was not done by Scientology, let's be clear. I would never say that. Mm-mm. I would say the repression of it was. Hmm. Yeah, me too, Juju. Yep, because he was so calm, right? And let me see. I do think I have a couple of pictures of him post court. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. Coming to and from calm, clean shaven, older now. Not like these pictures you see on all the articles and everything. They're taking pictures from that 70s show, from the ranch, from his career. Not how he appears now, not the day to day. There's very few of these out there, but I wanted you to see them. He is older now, clean shaven, wears a suit and tie, very presentable every day in court, as he should. But this was the last few days. This is Danny Masterson coming to and fro. They see him with his wife, Bijou Phillips, every day. And yeah, mm-hmm, showed up during deliberations and he's outside the courtroom. And Danny Masterson smiles a lot outside of the court. Yep. This one spoke to me. My friend Quiz helped me get these black and whites of Danny Masterson. Two sides of the case, right? Prosecution and defense. Hmm? You guys remember any of those closing arguments? The defense. mm, the defense actually going after the testimony of the women, saying that during their reporting, mm, uh, they've had to process their encounters with Masterson for years. And Cohen actually told the jury that because of that, sometimes they don't tell the truth. He said they don't tell the truth. He was poking holes in the woman's testimony and the prosecution's case. He moved tactively to the end of the defense table so that he was looking directly at the jury at the whole time of his presentation. Okay. They say that Masterson kept his natural face with the exception of occasionally taking a sip from a cup in front of him. Mm, but really not showing much. Cohen said that blame it on others whenever there seems to be a contradiction. The key to this case is not when they reported it, but what they said when they reported it and what they said at trial. In his summation, he said all four women spoke to each other before they went to the LAPD and the DA. In contradiction, the defense said, the prosecution said DA Mueller, not the defense. That was the defense I just quoted. The prosecution had another take on that. They said they're having to reach inside themselves and pull out the pain and trauma that they've had buried inside them. You may find some inconsistencies here. And Mindy Mechanic, the expert memory witness and trauma counselor and psychologist, she came forward, the only expert who testified in the trial was for the prosecution. Let it be noted that all three that were listed for the defense were pulled by Philip Cohen before the jury got to deliberate this case. They rested without presenting a single witness. They believe the inconsistencies in the case are going to carry them forward. But Mindy Mechanic came forward and said, based on the time and the trauma, the small inconsistencies are to be expected. They are not huge ones. They are not due to time, place, and location, and they are not due to the act that happened. They are little words like, was the gun a little up or a little down? Was it a slap or a hit? Okay. The Jane Doe reporting that she was hit in the face, head area, somewhere between her eye and the top of her skull. Okay. Whether it was an open fist or whether it was an open slap or a fist, but she said it wasn't a punch and it wasn't exactly open faced. And when presented with that by Cohen, that that's what she said, and presented with the report, lo and behold, it came out that that's not what she said. She never called it a slap. She consistently called it a hit, and she wasn't sure because it wasn't a punch, but it wasn't open like a slap. It was somehow a closed fist, loosely closed fist kind of knock upside the head. She didn't know what to call it, so she didn't. It was the detective she spoke with that called it a slap and kept referring it to as a slap. So here we had Cohen, like I said, trying to twist the words of the testimony. And yes, there was an inconsistency there. She didn't know what to call it. She didn't say. And she says sometimes slap, she says sometimes hit. But she clearly always said, I didn't know exactly what to say and tried to explain it every single time. But got her words twisted repeatedly. And this happened with many things about the gun waving. hmm About the gun waving of the other Jane Doe. Well, did he wave it at you? Did he point it at you and threaten you, or was he waving it at the door? And she said she was just waving it around. I really don't know if it was at me or if it was at the door. And that's an inconsistency they say too. Okay. And whether or not she mentioned it in every single report that she made, because she made several reports. And no, sometimes she didn't mention it because, as she admitted, it wasn't directly threatened to her. It was a movement that he made. He grabbed it from the drawer. He went to the door. He heard somebody. It was something else. She was in and out of consciousness. And as she and others, Jane Doe's, have said repeatedly, it was so traumatic to me that all I'm trying to do is answer the questions the best as I can to my ability. I only answer what they ask me. I didn't elaborate. I didn't pull everything in. It was what I answered only the questions asked me because that's what I thought I needed to do to report. That makes sense to me, actually. You know, if it would be the other way if they went into the court or they went into the police statement with a whole big statement they were going to say and just reported it that way. Oh, here's my 4-page signed statement. This is what I want to report. Just take that. I'm not saying a word. Well, that would have went over well, huh? But no, they approached it with honesty and tried to obey the system and only answered the questions that were asked of them because they thought that that would speed up the information and that the people asking the questions would get the information they needed for them to get justice. Mhm. Mm. Yes, Angela, this is a good question. The very first reporting was an injury report instead of a sexual assault. When it was relooked at by another detective, it got reclassified as a sexual assault case. There is a lot of questioning back and forth about the information that was taken in and while it was, and he does admit during the open testimony that the one who took the first report does admit that when looking back at it and reading everything he wrote, it clearly should have been filed as an essay report. It should have. And there's been a lot of speculation in the LAPD about corruption in Scientology payments, but also Judge Olmedo was very clear about not disparaging the officers for doing their jobs. Okay. And she wasn't going to let that happen. And I give her credit for that because we want the evidence to say the report is what the report is. And the jury is allowed to think whatever they want. Okay. But those officers are not on trial for anything. Okay, and they are there willingly, giving all that information the detectives are based on what happened to the best of their ability. And some of them having to admit some faults. Okay. One of them went on vacation instead of allowing one of the Jane Does to go to the DA. They had a small window and they went on vacation and didn't reschedule it, and it got dropped and delayed again. Um, the Jane Doe's reports and feeling not really taken care of by the LAPD and the detectives working the case. Um, and it's why they started talking, not to get their stories together, but to find a better way to report this and get things to get moving, because people weren't getting interviewed, emails weren't getting answered, things weren't being done as people said they would. Okay, crazy cat. A narcissist will always twist your words to achieve and jump onto any narrative to manipulate the situation to suit their own agenda. I hear this often. I do. Control, manipulators, those in power and authority, it's commonly done. It's done in everyday language, if you think about it, not just by narcissists. We all do it to some extent, let's be clear, but not to the extent of this manipulation that I've been seeing in this trial. So I kind of agree with you. They are, as I said, he's trying to produce the best defense he can for Danny Masterson, and that's what he has. But that is a sad story when all you have is to pick apart the testimony of a victim. He doesn't have time and place. He doesn't have anything. You know, he doesn't have anything else. They didn't bring anybody to argue about the women's state of mind. They didn't bring anybody forward. All he has is their own words, you know. Hey, Leanna, welcome. Okay. Mm-hmm. And you guys, you get it. Okay. There are specifics that are so hard to remember, even soon after they happen. When in the state of being controlled, it can be even harder, especially in the state of unconsciousness or sleep. Waking up to this, okay? One of them woke up to just complete body aches, pain, bleeding, etc. Okay? Didn't know what happened. Talked to him later, and he jokingly said, "Yeah, well, yeah, we did that. You were asleep. I did that." Not his exact words, but yeah, she did mention that he left. Her heart broke. This was Jane Doe 3. Why did they need to do that? Hmm. Well, yep. Angela, yep. The DA Jackie Lacey's fail. Witnesses never questioned. This is why the women started talking. But District Attorney Cohen tried to turn that into they were colluding to get their stories together. Okay. But I have to give DA Mueller credit because when that came forward in the closing arguments of the defense attorney, remember that the prosecution gets the last word because they have to prove everything beyond a shadow of a doubt. So they're allowed to address the closing statement of DA of District Defense Attorney Cohen. Forgive me. I am tired. Mhm. And I am, mm, let's just say, annoyed at the moment. Mm. I get tongue tied. But the defense attorney Cohen laid out that there were discrepancies in the stories, okay, and that they may have actually colluded, okay, and that they all got together and talked before they went and reported things. After all, they were all Scientologists. They were all in the same situation. That's not that uncommon, okay, but I can see why he went there. All right, but here's what Mueller did about that. He reminded them of all the differences in the case that each story said. He said if they colluded, and this kind of makes sense to me. He put out the scenario, should the Jane Does have spent all that time colluding, wouldn't they have more similarities in their case? The only things that they have similarities in their case is where they all happened, which were at Danny Masterson's house, with the exception of Jane Doe 4. She had reported an incident that's not being charged that happened in her own abode, in her own apartment or home. Now, that's in common. They all include Danny Masterson. They all include an accusation of penetration without consent. Legal definition. Legal definition. They all report to being altered in some way, either asleep or unconscious or not in control of their body for some feeling of drugged feeling. They didn't use the word drugged. They were very careful because they're not accusing Danny Masterson without evidence of drugging them. But they do report that Danny gave them the drinks that made them feel completely out of control. And not usually, that they were used to drinking, that they can handle more than one drink, but that this one drink given to them in some cases made them feel they could not control their own body. They were slipping in and out of consciousness. They lost periods of time. They would be in a jacuzzi and then halfway upstairs, in a shower, and then in a bed, losing time all the time, not knowing how they got here, there, where, not knowing who took their clothes off, how their clothes came off, remembering only parts of conversations here and there. These are things they all reported in common, all a little differently. Okay. Things they didn't report in common. Mm, two of the Jane Does never reported a gun. Mm-mm, mm-mm. All right. Oh, one Jane Doe reports the jacuzzi. Mm. Two Jane Does report fruity drinks. Okay. Two of them report wine. Mm. Only one Jane Doe reports other incidences of Danny Masterson's treatment of women out in public. Things that he says while they're walking, holding her hand, walking down the street, talking about somebody in front of them in the most disparaging, disgusting terms. That woman's husband turned around and beat Danny to a pulp just about on the streets of LA in front of witnesses. That's how disgusting the conversation was. So much that Jane Doe got in a cab and left, or went with her friend and left him there. She wanted nothing to do with it. She was shocked at how he acted, what he said about somebody else that way. Mm. But, mm, you know, these are the things, okay? Danny could have been a sweet kid once. Cults make you a narcissist. Well, they sure did feed into this. I will admit that I do tend to believe that the culture created by them leads to his entitlement. Hmm. Leads to it being a little fair. And I am guilty of actually saying in one or two of my presentations that besides this act that he did without consent, which I'm not going to say whether he's, I can't say whether he's guilty or not. I want the court to say it. Okay. I want these women's voices to be heard, but I don't want to take his voice away either. He's allowed to defend himself. But I will say this: if you're in a life, your whole family's in Scientology, this is the life and this is what he's dealing with now, then he also is a victim of Scientology. It doesn't give him an excuse for what happened. No way. I'm not saying that. But we must open our minds to agree that he's warped by these beliefs. And that would make him a victim if he's doing these kind of things and think it's okay. That's not right. And where that comes from is there. And that makes him a victim too. In my opinion. I know, come for me if you must, you know, but that's how I look at it. He is a predator. He's used his influence to satisfy his predatory addiction to get away with it. Yes, I do. These were all situations of opportunity. They were there in his house. They were drinking. He took opportunity. They were asleep. They were unconscious. They were uncontrolled. Opportunistic, predatory behavior. I agree, 100%. Crazy cats. If what happened is as reported, that's total predatory, opportunistic behavior, and he should get all three sentences. 45 years he could get if all three. Mm. We all make choices. He made his. Yes, he did. And I'm not saying he gets a pass for it. I'm just saying it's part of the scenario. Okay? Believe me, I don't think he should get away with any of this if it is as reported. Hmm. Yeah, I heard that there are pictures, but we didn't get to see. There's reporting, no, Angela Clark. There is reporting, and it did become part of this trial from Jane Doe 3 herself, who was witness to it, and several others that did get interviewed about it after the fact. Okay, but yeah, how much money was spread out to get rid of those pictures, and stuff? He's not always been the darling of Scientology. It's been a little problematic. He has, yeah. I hope this isn't true, Tim Greenglass. I know that Cosby only did 3 years, and there was a reversal on many of his charges. And they did have toxicology. They did have other similar situations and reports. I get it. And I'm hoping not, because there is the real thing out there that, beyond a shadow of a doubt, he may not be convicted. The jury's got to be unanimous rather. I was getting tired. Time to wrap up. The jury must come in united on this. They tried to say deadlocked after only 2.5 days, and Judge Almeida would not take it. She said, "That's not enough time for you to weigh all the evidence. That's not enough time for you to discuss this." And they didn't have court on that Friday, so they couldn't go forward. So she dismissed them for the whole week. Now they are home with their families, and Judge Almeida admonished them to absolutely speak to no one about it, not to discuss the case, not to look at anything. Um, but clearly, this could also, in my opinion, not as a lawyer, not as a paralegal, not any legal type of opinion, but I do believe that this could come forward as I'm looking for it as a reason for appeal, that Cohen could use this to open up the case again if things don't go his way because of this time frame in between and because they weren't sequestered, they were out and about. Okay. As is common, you hope that they will, but human nature, I get it. And it is a big opening for Cohen. Okay. Yeah, I know. Sweet kid comment. He is dangerous predator that is still a father and a son, and once could have been this in his all. I get it, Angela. I know exactly where you were coming from with it. I don't mean that. Yeah. besides this. Always. There's a lifelong thing here. Yes, I get it. He is a father and he has a son, a wife. He could have been decent. He still can. Wouldn't it be nice if he walked in there and said, I will take the I know what happened was wrong and I'll take the punishment, but that didn't happen. Okay. Mm-hmm. I'm glad that it's coming to light also, Leanna. I'm just hoping that the jury will find some common ground. You know, Grace, this occurred to me also. Why weren't they sequestered just based on the reputation of Scientology to screw with the people? Wasn't part of this whole case, what part we were allowed to mention about Scientology, wasn't it about harassment, intimidation, and the women's belief that they weren't allowed to come forward? Was there not the acknowledgement that there was another suit of harassment and that even Jane Doe 3's husband, Cedric, did get to speak on the harassment that he and his family had gone through and what happened? Dogs were killed, people were threatened, and that it was still going on to this very day. Said it right there in that courtroom in front of Judge Olmedo. But they didn't sequester them. Okay, so this stuff. This stuff, the Sean Fabos incident, where Masterson's investigator spoke to Sean Fabos, and lo and behold, his testimony changed. Miraculously, he remembered all kinds of stuff about traveling and things like that that never came up in any of the recorded conversations that the Jane Doe had on him. That he actually spoke with the district attorney in regards to. Never was it ever mentioned, but miraculously, after speaking with Danny Masterson's investigator, he had a flash of memory. But Scientology isn't interfering at all. Nobody's interfering. No. I know. I know. Yeah, it's speculation at best, but I'm speculating because it's what I saw and it's what I think. Mm. Anyway, everyone, I'm going to sign off on this now. I'm going to see if you have another one. Yep, always thinks also. Jujubee, I don't understand it either. I've never understand the misappropriation of power that way when someone is completely incapacitated, how that could even be, but takes all kinds, right? There's no way. There's no way for me to wrap my mind around it actually, Jujubee, so I understand. I don't understand any of this really either. It's bringing up more questions than answers as far as I'm concerned, at least for me. Questions on statute of limitations, questions on the lines of consent, legal definitions, protecting both sides, what evidence to bring in and what not. Mm. How far, how far are interrogations allowed to go and cross examinations? How far are you allowed to say a story where it's just like you're putting out a theory? When does it become that you're lying against the people or that you're misrepresenting them? Mm. It does make me think. Yep, Jujubee. My mind is aware. My mind is aware with it, to tell you the truth. He definitely needs to be held accountable. Okay. He definitely got his day in court. I do believe. I do believe that the defense attorney did the best that they could. I think that they wanted to make it more about being judged because he's a Scientologist, but maybe Philip Cohen actually forgot what the women are saying. They are saying they were violated without consent. Legal definition there, Philip. Yeah, check it out. Legal definition. Okay. That's what they're saying. They're not saying Scientology made Danny do it. No. They're saying Scientology kept them from getting justice. Thank you for saying that, Wrecker. I hear you. Thank you. Look at State versus Brock Turner. I will. I'm going to put this up so I don't forget. Making a note, Angela. Thank you. And that is another very tumultuous one from what I understand. And yep, Mippet, that's right. Questions have never hurt anyone except liars, the ones that don't want you. Don't look too close, right? Don't look too close. You might find the truth, you know. And let me remind you all, truth is never always just pleasant, is it? Truth can be uncomfortable. Truth can be painful. Mm. But truth is honest. And regardless of what it feels like, that's where I'm going to stay. I want the answers. I want to see the trial come to the end, and I want to try to get the answers on what really happened. But we all have to face the reality that we may never know. As much as we've gone through following this whole trial all the way through, we may not get a good picture of what really happened because, we're just going to get a jury's conviction, a jury's verdict, a jury's statement on what they believe. We have to leave it up to those people to tell us reasonably whether they believed or not what happened in a courtroom. And then we have to look back and see if it was fair, which side got to present what. Okay. We may never. But anyway, thanks again. Thank you, Angela. And someday I look forward to speaking to you on these, Angela. Uh, I do have many questions in regards to Scientology. I've been talking to Chris Shelton. I look forward to talking to Doug Scott in the future. I have been watching everything and consuming everything I can for years on it. I am following I am following quite a few of the other Scientology legal cases that I'll be bringing up. But there. Mm. Oh, Grace. Mm. Claire, before you go, I made a nice poem for Jujubee to invite her to the games. Tell her it's a moral imperative to come when poetry is involved. Well, I will say this, being a literature nerd, and you all know I have a library. It's not very popular, but I do it anyway. You know why? Because words matter. Literature matters. And Jujubee, if they're trying to coerce you with poetry, oh, love, you must listen. You must at least read the poetry. Now, I'm not going to force you to do anything against your will, but they're pulling out the big guns, love. Poetry in your name just to get you to come play games. I say, why not? I want this poem, Grace. Send me this poem. I'll put it on my community tab. It's like a wheel. She said it was a good one. Okay. I need it. Okay. I need it. Look up. It's up here. All right. Where is it? Okay. Okay. Mip it. I'm looking. I'm looking. Grace. Oh, Grace, where is it? Is it in here? Why can't I find it? Oh well. Hey, can one of the mods copy it and repost it for me? That would be easy. Well, I don't see it. Okay. Um, look up. Mm. Oh, yes. And Robski, thank you for saying that. I had it's not there. Oh, okay. Mippet, do you mean Robski's comment? Because that's also quite lovely, I have to say. Robski, thank you, because I had so much fun talking to J.L. Warren last night, or rather listening to what J.L. Warren had to say, because we were talking about serial killers and the influence on culture in his horror genre from movies and everything. And I found out all of this information that J.L. Warren also has on the psychological end of it. So I was in, okay, I'm going to say it, nerd heaven. I admit to being a self proclaimed nerd. I am. I love that stuff. I ate that up. I was just sitting there like a spoon with every word that man was said. I had the best time. I hope to do something like that again. And yeah, you guys go watch it because if anything, JL deserves all the props for that. I did nothing. I did nothing but let that man go. It was wonderful. It was absolutely wonderful. Okay. All right. On that, okay. Send me Grace Case. Are you on a mission? I want that poem. I will put it out there for everybody. Okay. I know, Verillion, right? Poetry. Next, it'll be flowers, Chocolate Oreos and otters. Yes. Oh, and by the way, tomorrow we are going to be on Juju Woo's channel doing something fun at 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to be reviewing Oreos with Jujubee. It's a thing. In both of us really don't like Oreos. I don't know how this became a thing, Jujubee, but it's everywhere, and now we have to go through it. We have to go through it. And I say, no, if you want Juju be in the Discord, you better bring warm chocolate chip cookies and buttery lemon shortbread that melts in your mouth. And oh gosh, don't forget the peanut butter cookies, popcorn. Bring her some nice warm fuzzy drinks, a nice warm apple cider with a cinnamon stick. But hell, no more Oreos. I'm with you, Juju B. That's no way to bribe you into the Discord. I agree. I agree. Yes, I agree. Okay. But anyway, we're going to have fun tomorrow night. And then we've got a lot going on for the weekend, too. Hey, we're going to have a six pack from what I heard on Friday morning over at Hereticals. And I hope that that's still on. I will see you there. I will see you there bright and early in the morning if it is. And then on Saturday, we got Operator Starsky over at the Shills. We will have a What the Actual Flabbergasted Things Are Going On all over social media show on my channel on Saturday night because I'm offended at what the producers of food are doing with our holiday treats. Oh my God, the things that have hit my Discord, we have to talk about. That's going to happen Saturday night. On Sunday, there will be an uncalled for. And it is a busy week, but I'm happy. I'm kind of happy about it. You fully blame John for this, Jujubee? I love John. Hopefully, it's not his fault, but if it is, we'll put blame where blame needs to be. Okay, and no chocolate otters. No, no. Please feed. Listen, people, feed the strawberries to the otters so that if Milky comes around, he's safe. Like we have to do that. You know, you never know when he's going to show up. We must feed the otters the strawberries, keep them happy. Otters, I mean, otters just make everybody happy, don't they? And unless you piss them off. But hey, anyway, everybody, a group. If I don't see you tomorrow, have a wonderful Thanksgiving to the Americans. To those that not, enjoy your Thursday as usual while we're all laying around overly stuffed and burping and all this other stuff. We're going to be full of that tryptamine, right, Jujubee? The thing in turkey that makes us all lay flat after we eat it. That's it. We're going to be all of us overly done. Overly done. Hey, well, thank you for becoming a member, Crazy Cat. Welcome to Murder Minions. I hope you're going to like it here. Do me a favor, Crazy Cat. If you have Twitter or Instagram or any other means to communicate, could you please send me your Discord ID? Because you could get in there and play games with us. We do have games going on tonight. The games are one of the perks of being in the Discord. And before everybody starts shouting on how to get in there, let me just tell you, if you're a member, like Crazy Cat just joined, of the channel or a Patreon, you automatically get access to the Discord. Another way to get into the Discord is to be a creative collaborator of mine with my channel, because I did create that Discord in the hopes of bringing small creators together everywhere to have ways to talk about the streams and to share information, share our skills. So that is still going on too. It's not tryptamine. It's not tryptamine. What is it then? What is the word? Because I know it's something close to that, Autistic Show. Please correct me so I can correct myself up here. Um, yes, you did, Jin, but you had something to do with the good food that's in there. We have a room of good food, and then if you go over to Mayhem or the streams that are in regards to the what the actual flabbergasted bad things that are happening everywhere, there's stuff in there like I kid you not, there are spam figgy pudding, and I found Caesar salad candy canes. I kid you not. All right, that's all we're gonna say about that. Okay. Oh, it's tryptophan. It's not tryptamine. It's tryptophan. Okay, thank you always. Okay, foot out of mouth had the wrong one. They've got the right one there. There is something in turkey that makes you sluggish. That's all I can tell you. Yeah. Okay. I know it's all science. It's all science. Okay. Hmm. But anyway, let me let you go. Hope to see you there. Welcome, crazy cats. Like I said, try to get a hold of me. All of my contact information is down below in this stream. It's also on the back of my About page. If you don't have regular other social media accounts, you can always email me, okay? And we'll try to work something out, okay? And for everybody, there is the skeptical raptor. Okay. About Thanksgiving turkey and sleep tryptophan isn't the reason. It's not the reason. Maybe it's just the overeating in general. What do you think, Autistic Shill? Is it just because we make those big plates of food on Thanksgiving? Turkey and stuffing and cranberry sauce, mashed potatoes, some kind of green beans, vegetables galore, sweet potatoes, cranberries, and don't forget the pumpkin pie. But anyway, see you all on the weekend. See you over at Juju Beast tomorrow. Okay, that's on the back of my community tab. When I am going to be doing panels for the week, I will put them all on the back of the community tab so you can find us. All right. On that, I'm going to say, well, bye, Danny Masterson, Scientology. By this whole Masterson trial case until next week when the jury comes back on Monday. And yes, we'll be following it. So follow my playlist for the previous editions of this particular Masterson trial. Also, down below is listed Chris Shelton's channel, Antonio Ortega. All of his reporting on this has been stellar. And I say that stellar in capital STELLAR. Awesome. He is in there. He's trying to be as unbiased as possible. He's given us word for word, play by play, everything he can, plus a little bit of opinion. So go follow the Underground Bunker. His links are also below because fair is fair. He's doing a lot of work and he deserves your views too. All right. On that, here we go. All right. I will see you all soon. Okay. Have a good one and happy Thanksgiving, America. Happy Thursday tomorrow to everyone else.